want to say anything before we get started, or you just want us to kind of set up what we're doing here?
Get after it.
Yeah, just get her done, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Amy, do you want to say something on behalf of Wyoming Office of Tourism, who is making all this possible?
Yeah, for those of you who haven't met yet, my name is Amy Larson. I am the Destination Experience Manager with the Wyoming Office of Tourism. And part of my role is I work very closely with Young Strategies in all the counties to bring the Wyoming Best program to the counties for the strategic plans. When we first started, all we were doing was helping with strategic plans and helping you guys move the needle. Like, that was really our hope, is to just help all the destinations become better destinations. A couple of years ago, when we switched over to the statewide lodging tax, we were able to secure about $5 million in funding towards destination development programming. And the caveat to get money through the destination development program is now you have to have a strategic plan in place. So there's a couple great things about all of us meeting today. One, to give you guys a strategic plan to continue to elevate Weston County as a destination. And once you have the plan, which you probably will by the end of the week,
yes,
you guys can actually apply for destination development funds. So it's additional funding to help you guys meet some of the things that are identified in your strategic plan. So we're very excited that we are in a state that is able to do that, as the legislature allocated it again for the second iteration. So we just love it. You guys are our 23rd lodging tax board in 5 years to have gone through this program. And you're kind of the last. Which is
There's
awesome.
27, but the others are all in Lincoln County. And we're working to get them all united, working as a team, instead of having 6 or 7 little tinies in Lincoln County.
So Berkeley, he'll kind of explain this as he talks. He has been working with the Office of Tourism longer than anybody there, with the exception of Diane Schober. So he knows the state backwards, forwards, inside out. We were just talking as we were driving back from Newcastle today that Berkeley and I have now been in every county and met with every county in the entire state over the last 4 years. So we're very excited to finally be able to work with you guys. We know there's great product here, and we're very eager to get you guys on the destination development programming as well. You guys, some of you know Sawyer, who is my coworker. He is your representative from the Wyoming Office of Tourism for the region. And so we each have an area that we're kind of responsible for outside of the other roles that we carry at the Office of Tourism. And so he's the person that if you have a PR question or if you have a website question, any question you have, you just go straight to Sawyer instead of having to spend hours digging through and trying to figure out who the right person is. So he sits in on your lodging tax board meetings occasionally, I believe, and so he's really your good contact. After even today, when we kick off the strategic planning, even though I helped get this arranged, you actually just get to go right back to Berkeley. And Darren, you don't have to go through us to talk with him. We actually keep him on retainer. So he is a resource moving forward for the Wyoming Office of Tourism for all of you guys. And chances are, any question you might have, any idea you might have, he has seen it. He has seen failures. He has seen successes. He's well respected around the nation, and we're lucky to work with him. So thank you guys for coming on board, and we're excited to move forward. Did I forget anything?
No, you did good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. So, I'm Berkeley Young, and I'm well respected around the nation, but not in my own family. So, I started right there in Lake Lure, Chimney Rock, North Carolina. In 1993, I was hired as their tourism director, and we had a budget of $120,000 in 5 towns and 1 county, and every ad that I produced, I had to show the rotation of the names as to which town's turn it was to have their name first in the list of the 5 towns. And the town names were mostly double names, and so you had Chimney Rock and Lake Lure and Forest City and Rutherfordton and Spindale. And they took up most of the space in the ad, just listing their names in there. And I had to go around all the time and make presentations in all 5 towns and deal with all the turf wars. And I learned early that all the mayors had competed against each other in high school sports and hated each other to the grave. And you know, and the things that I learned in Rutherford County, North Carolina, have carried me forth. In 1998, I started working and worked my way around the country. Along the way, Judy Randall, the woman I worked with, met Diane Schober. And when Diane Schober, who's from Gillette, came to be the state travel director in Wyoming in 2005, she said, we need to do a Head Start program for all our small counties around the state. And so in 2005, Judy and I spent a month and a half in Wyoming, and we spent 2 days in every county in Wyoming, and Weston was one of those. And so first time I came here was 2005, and since then I've passed through over the years. I spend about a month a year in Wyoming. We do these week-long trips in about every season of the year and visit the different parts of the state. So I like to tell people that this accent is from Southern Wyoming. Southern Wyoming accent. Along the way, and again, I said that Diane created the program as kind of a Head Start program for small counties. Well, Darren Rudloff was the director in Cheyenne at the time, and he said, wait a minute, I want in on the program. And then Casper and Cody and a few others got involved. And so I've been working with Darren since 2005. He was director in Cheyenne. Because he was in Cheyenne, he ended up being kind of like the spokesperson for the industry. Anytime somebody had to go before the legislature and testify on tourism stuff, Diane Schober couldn't do it because, well, she's state travel director and a government employee, so they would send Darren in. So he's chaired the state tourism board and done a lot of work around the state. And when he semi-retired 5 years ago,
5 years.
Darren and I kind of went into partnership together. And so we work, he's got his own company, Rudloff Solutions, but we kind of share all the same data and information and work with various clients. And so he, when Wyoming changed the state lodging tax law, Darren was kind of I won't say the spokesperson, but he traveled the state helping all the counties understand how the lodging tax worked and how it did. So he's going to explain some of that to you today. Basically, our goal here today is to do an assessment with you guys so that we are leapfrogging Weston County. We're getting y'all to the head of the line to get some money from the state. And so we are, normally we would require all kinds of surveys and background work before we give you a strategic plan. But since we've been here so many times, we know you, we understand you, we're doing an assessment and getting straight to a very down and dirty basic strategic plan for you guys so that you get that check mark and you can apply for that money from the state, okay? So that is our task today, is we're going to come out of here with like 2 or 3 strategic initiatives that we're going to focus on, and then you'll have your strategic plan and you'll be ready to get in line for that money, okay? So that's who we are, what we're doing. Real quick, could we go around the room, and Sawyer, do you have a legal pad? Could you take down the names and roles of everybody here, because we want everybody to introduce themselves. And so we understand what organization you're representing. And so Sawyer will take that down for us. And let's start right there.
Hi everyone, I'm Cass Bishop. I serve on the Upton Chamber of Commerce and I'm also on the Travel Commission.
Okay, Cass?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Cass Bishop. Very good. So you're on the travel board and the chamber board,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Very good. Okay. And you have a business?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Just rocking it with volunteerism.
There you go. Good for you. All right.
My name is Chad Blair. I'm with TDG Agency, which is the agency of record for the Weston County Travel Commission. So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Very good. Very good. And there is destination development funds. We'll be sure and go over the rules on all that, because you can't It's destination development, not promotion, but there's, yeah,
Yes, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
good, glad you're here. Let's go here and then.
Brittany Trandle, I'm on the Travel Commission, and I'm a reporter for the Weston County Gazette,
And right now she's president.
president of the Travel
Okay,
Commission.
very good. You weren't at the meeting that day, were you?
Bruce Perkins, business owner, Newcastle, Perkins Tavern. I'm their representative.
Okay,
Right now, I'm the only representative. 'Cause we're supposed to have two, you know, but, I'm probably the longest person been on the board. You know, I've been held almost every position except for treasurer.
all right, good. How long has the other position been vacant?
Just recently.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just recently.
Okay.
I think it's been a month.
But I do,
She hasn't been active for about 3 months. So.
I
Okay,
do believe we have a county one potentially joining, so that one will be filled. We're just missing one,
Yeah, well,
Newcastle.
we're missing one county too, aren't we?
okay.
At this time.
And you have a good candidate line okay,
Well,
good.
it's,
Yeah. Sometimes in small towns, it's hard, you know?
Yeah.
it's very hard.
That's why in small towns, I don't believe in term limits, because that means within 8 years, you've term limited out the people that
Everybody.
know, and you're literally like, well, go see if there's somebody in the cemetery that could do it, you know?
Or those willing to do it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's our problem.
finding those
yeah, because
volunteer spirit.
in a small town like this, if you have somebody that understands what you're doing, you need to stay on board. Okay, yes, ma'am.
I'm Kathy Decker Levasseur, and about 2 years ago, I moved up here from Cheyenne to help with the Veterans Memorial in Newcastle. And I actually grew up in Newcastle. I used to work at the Chamber of Commerce in
Okay.
Newcastle before I went to
And
Cheyenne.
you're a grocery store decker?
Yes,
I met your sister-in-law in the grocery store. I guess it's your
Becky?
sister-in-law. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I went in the grocery store looking to see if they had anything local, and she introduced herself.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
local, but we need to ferret it out and promote it.
That's good, okay.
So I'm here mostly for the memorial.
Okay.
But Newcastle and Wyoming in general.
All right, well, we might broaden your scope of work before the end of the day.
Are you on the board?
No, not
Okay.
currently, I'm on other boards.
You're on all the other boards?
Board with boards?
No,
Okay,
not
good.
at all. When I worked for the state in Cheyenne, I couldn't do anything with
Yeah.
the community, so I'm glad to come up here and be able to do things.
Super.
Huh?
So you still live in Cheyenne, or you've moved
No,
back?
I moved back.
Okay, super. That's awesome.
Yeah, I see Bruce once in a while and
Okay,
Walter once in a while.
good, 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 good.
I'm Walter Sprague. I'm a photographer and videographer with the Newsletter Journal out of Newcastle. I am also a freelance artist in Newcastle and the music director for the Weston County Community Cantata Choir.
All right. Okay, yeah, cool. Good, thank you. And Sawyer, you want to say anything? So does everybody know Sawyer? He's your guy.
Hi there, everyone. I'm Sawyer Sweckert. I'm the Partner Activation Manager. So I'm also your regional contact, but I also run the partner portal, the Wyoming Office of Tourism.
So when you need anything from Wyoming Office of Tourism, he's your first call, and he'll route you to whoever you need to get to.
In the right direction.
I'm Carmen Deal. I'm here representing the Upton Economic Development Board. I've been involved in the community for 45 years, and so I'm backing off now, but
And what do you do when you're not on the Economic Development Board?
well, I'm retired. I used
Okay.
to own the grocery store. I sold it to my daughters 5 years ago,
Okay.
and so part-time in Arizona, part-time here.
Ah, good for you. Okay, you figured it out.
My name's Buffy Worth, and I'm here with the Chamber of Commerce as well, and then I do own the grocery store.
Okay.
Management Center, so.
And you're
With
sitting
my
next to
sister.
your mom.
Yep.
All right, that's awesome. Yep.
Yeah.
Remember, I started in a small county. I get it.
Yes, yes.
It's also we're
This is,
cousins. We're cousins.
That's my aunt, that's
Mary
my
Ann.
cousin.
Yep.
All right.
So,
And you're
South,
still
we have a
related to the
song that-
Thompsons?
What's the old song? I am my own grandma.
That's the other half of
My
town.
dad, in our small town, my dad is married to my brother's mother-in-law, so I'll let y'all figure that out.
well, I think you win then.
Yeah, there are only so many, it was slim pickings.
my name's Nick Trandle. I'm a former Upton councilman. I'm currently the mayor of Upton.
Husband.
Okay, very good. It's all in the family. I love it. We're gonna get a lot done today. Okay. Y'all ready? We're gonna give you a little intro on things and all I've done, I've worked with far more small destinations than large. The states where I work the most are Wyoming, Mississippi, Louisiana, and New York. And the thing that those have in common is a whole bunch of rural, smaller counties that have some kind of a tourism tax and they're trying to figure out what to do with it. I've actually worked for 26 counties in New York, and you'll notice none of them are where the city is, way down there. It's all the rural up in the Finger Lakes region, which is really quite a spectacular place to visit. So there's some rules about this stuff, and this is a map of all the counties in the United States. There's over 3,000 if you throw in the parishes in Louisiana and federal districts, etc. And almost every one of them, you can look at that map, and out of all 3,000, you can zero right in on Weston County. Because you know where it is, you know the shape of it, and you can find it, and there's no topographical or geographic features on there. It's just a bunch of lines. But every one of those counties out there is trying to say they're the gateway to something. There's, gateway to progress. That's, gateway to the future. People love gateways and that kind of thing. But, yeah, at the end of the day, Greenville, South Carolina produces the world's supply of Pepto-Bismol. Not a reason to visit, right? We have to find what's the motivational hook to get people to come to Weston County. And we don't care what all these other people are saying. We do care what all these people in this region are saying, what these destinations are saying, because if we say the same thing that everybody else is saying, then how does the visitor decide, well, why would I pick you out of the other 23 counties in the state? And so we're looking for what differentiates us, what makes it something interesting to go. Now, my hometown has the Chapman Cultural Arts Center, named for my Uncle Marshall. And they named it in honor of him because he had been such a leader for the arts. But if you're not from there, the name Chapman doesn't mean a thing to you, and it doesn't tell you why you would go there. And being the Cultural Arts Center, do they do plays? Do they do exhibits? What is it? And so a lot of times we name things for Anna Miller to honor her, but it doesn't tell the visitor why would you go to her museum. And the fact is, if you go in the Anna Miller Museum, it's very little's about Anna Miller. It's telling the story of homesteading in the area, right? And so it's fine. I'm not saying change the name, but what you put on the top front 1/3 of the brochure is what the experience is, because if it's in a brochure rack full of names, the Smithsonian Museum in Washington had so much air and space product that only 10% of it was on display in the National Air and Space Museum on the Washington Mall. And they had a space shuttle, they had a Concorde, they had the Enola Gay that dropped the bombs on Japan. They had all these amazing planes and no real estate. So they went out to Dulles Airport and they built an annex. Well, a very wealthy man named Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy gave the money, and so now it is the Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Annex to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum at Dulles Airport. That is, honest to God, the name of the place. Now, is there anything there that says, I want to go all the way out to Dulles Airport to see that? But if they said, we've got the Space Shuttle, the Concorde, and the Enola Gay, oh, okay. It's all got these things, and it's much bigger than the one on the National Mall, and it's pretty spectacular. So we have to identify, if we're going to stand out on this map and get people to come through, because there you are, And here are all these drive routes that I took a highlighter to. And so those are rivers of money. They are visitors driving those roads. So in a lot of states, if we were in Oklahoma, I would say, okay, so we worked with the Oklahoma City National Memorial. Now, they don't have Yellowstone and Devil's Tower and those things that are bringing people to Oklahoma. So they have to figure out how to get people to come to Oklahoma to see those things. But all these are drive routes to the most famous national park and some of the most famous national places, and in a cowboy state, and with unique scenery and everything. And y'all are on a Sturgis Drive route. So in answer to the question, would anybody come here? The answer is, they already are. They're driving all around you with an hour drive, okay? So with your size budget, you're not trying to buy ads over here to inspire people to come here. You're trying to seine the river of money that's flowing all around you and pull them in here and get your piece of the pie. So that if anybody's going from Cheyenne up to Spearfish and those places, I always want to say dead fish. They're in another state, we'll call them dead fish.
It's like
We
combine the
want
two
to get
towns
our
next to each
piece.
other. You combine the two towns next to each other, Deadwood and Spearfish.
Exactly, and I always want to say spearfish, and, yeah, spearwood and dead fish. Okay. So this famous quote: forever, traditional economic development and tourism have been completely siloed from each other. And it was because when we put bed taxes on hotels around the country, chambers of commerce and economic development were like, wait a minute, we've been hosting a golf tournament and doing all these fundraisers for decades. Why did tourism get a dedicated tax for them? So everybody's like, oh, we'll go get some of that tourism money. So tourism self-siloed and made all these rules and restrictions that said, you can't do all these things with our money, and we're going to have our own building and do our own thing and our own board, and we're not going to be friends with all these other chambers and economic development people. And so we realized after doing that from the 1990s up through about 2010, 2015, that it wasn't working, because if we want a place to visit, we've got to build it in a great place to live, because a great place to live is a great place to work. A great place to work is where people want to relocate and come because the business is good, and all that is what makes it a great place to visit. You look at any great destination and it's also a good place to live. So much so that the residents start saying, like in Jackson Hole, that there's too many visitors impeding on our quality of life, right? Now, I've had a lot of people in Wyoming say, we don't want to be like Jackson Hole. Is there anybody here concerned about that? Do you need me to tell you you're not going to be Jackson Hole? You don't have the Grand Tetons, and you do not have Yellowstone and all those things. I mean, yeah, totally. Jackson Hole is Jackson Hole, not because of their marketing, but because of the geography of what was there. And because they could have ski slopes and tourism and the National Park Gateway and everything else is what made it a tourism juggernaut, okay? And so you don't have that here. You don't have the geography of mountains and all those kind of things. And you do have a national monument directly to the north of you in Devil's Tower. The difference is that if Devil's Tower was in the middle of Yellowstone and the Tetons, it would really be something. But it doesn't get the numbers because in an age of people wanting to climb, jump, swim, get all over everything, Devil's Tower's a little boring. I mean, it's, you know, once you've seen it, it's kind of like, next, take the picture, you know? And so we can tag on to that and give them other things to do that tie in, okay? And so economic development, tourism, and chamber should all be working together because we're ultimately creating a great place to live. And so that's why I go in local grocery stores, because a really great grocery store makes it a good place to live, and you've got a really great local grocery store. And all that makes it a great place to visit.
And just to build on that, you're all here to improve the lives of your citizens. I mean, you're all here to improve your local economies. You're here to improve your cities, communities, and the lives of the residents. It's all the same game.
That coffee just kicked in. Woo, here we go. So you are what's called a DMO, a Destination Marketing and Management Organization. So it's technically DM squared O. And so that's what I mean when I say a DMO. That's what a tourism board is that you're here to market this place as a destination. In Wyoming, we call you a lodging tax board. But we also have to be leaders. Oh, and we're going to give you the full slide deck. So when we leave here, we'll hand it to you on a jump drive, and you'll have a PDF you can share with anybody. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. So, destination leadership means we're starting the process today to make you the experts on tourism in the area so that you can help businesses understand how to get their piece of the pie and how every local bar or restaurant can be a tourism destination, because food and entertainment, that kind of stuff, is right at the very core of the visitor experience, because people have to eat every 3 to 5 hours, right? And so having great places to stop for food and shopping along the way are great. You've got to be future focused. You've got to be focused on what the travelers want next. How is it changing? If you remember, any of you, what truck stops were like 20 years ago, and then you go in a truck stop today, they've gotten pretty fancy, right? Everybody, consumers have gotten fancier in their taste, and just going in Decker's grocery store is proof that, I mean, that is pretty fancy grocery store for out here in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And that's, everybody's gotten sophisticated in the food they buy and the way they shop. And so we have to remember that, you know, in like Mississippi has a lot of old bed and breakfast inns and old historic homes. And it's neat to stay in the charm of an old home, but a squeaky bed and old squeaky faucets and a teetery toilet with a wooden toilet seat's not charming, right? I mean, you want to get your charm in the architecture and the appearance of the place, but when it comes to a bathroom, you want everything to work, and you don't want to hear the people in the next room. And so we have to make sure we have updated experiences for people so they understand. Now, if you're selling an authentic Wyoming bunkhouse or sheep wagon, they know what they're getting, and they're getting authenticity. But if you say, I love hotels that are still telling people that they have like cable TV. It's like, well, that was like when I was a kid, it was a new thing, right? And that was a long time ago. So new experience development and understanding how to change. It used to be, when I started in tourism in the 1990s, we offered all kinds of golden senior stuff. Well, I mean, you will get punched in the face, because there's no such thing as a senior citizen. They're active adults now. And they will get out and they will paddle a river and ride a bicycle and hike a trail. They are very active. And so the whole dormant senior citizen thing doesn't exist anymore. And so it's understanding how to tailor experiences for grandparents who are most likely traveling with grandchildren, because the parents are working, and so a lot of times you'll see grandparents traveling with grandchildren and doing things. Understanding, and thank God you've got a good agency here, that branding is more than just a logo, and that on your budget, the true branding experience is not attainable yet, but you'll get there. A local partnership is critical to leverage everything you've got. I mean, you cannot go it alone. Your first thought on everything you do is, who else can we get to buy in on this? How can we leverage this? How can we create partnerships and coming together, sharing information, And co-opetition is what car dealers have done forever, is they create a motor mile, and they know if they're all together, they sell better. Hotels, fast food, density is what sells. And so it's competition across the obvious lines, and everybody working together to promote. A perfect example of that was a small town in Georgia. They wanted to have a guided history tour. They couldn't afford a van, but the local car dealership was called Landmark, and what a perfect name for a tour. And so they went to the car dealer and said, can you give us a deal on a like 12 or 15 passenger van for the tours? And we want to do these historic tours with a guide and charge people money for it. And he said, well, if you call it the Landmark History Tour and put our logo, we'll give you the van for $1 a year. So who would think that a car dealer would be a great partner for tourism? But that's how you work it. And so they have the Landmark History Tour, and he gave them a beautiful Mercedes Sprinter, 15 passenger, for $1 a year, because it's riding around all day long with his logo on it, promoting his car dealership. Co-opetition. Engaging locally and overcoming obstacles that slow progress. Have you ever heard the term cave people? Citizens against virtually everything. And they're the ones that can tell you what's wrong, but they can't tell you how to fix it or what the solution is.
Or they don't want to get engaged in it.
Correct. They just think, and they honestly believe they're helping, and they always begin a sentence with, you know what they said. And it's like, I always say, you just speak for yourself. Don't tell me what somebody else said.
In addition to the weekly printed version of the newsletter journal, we also promote our community and share important information on our award-winning website, newslj.com, and in our weekly email newsletter, Nuke Now. We also connect with readers through various social media platforms and invite you to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can even take a look at a recent meeting of the City Council, School Board, or County Commission on our YouTube channel. We do hope that you will go to newslj.com and subscribe today, and we look forward to making all of our great content available to you. But regardless of your level of support, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing your part to preserve a free and independent local press.
I've always found them to be the people that really are afraid of change.
Correct. And the fact is, you've got to overcome these obstacles and figure out how to move ahead and just get past. And
I hope you can help us with that, because I have run into
There's
that
a few
a
of
lot
those.
in Newcastle.
All
Correct.
the time, everywhere.
It's a
I've-
epidemic, I think, nationwide.
well, especially when you're a leader, you really think that it's everybody, but if you actually made a list of who they are and compare it to the total population, it's a small number of them who are just...
They're just louder. Yeah, they're
It's the
louder.
loud minority.
It is a very loud minority.
And they have a lot of words.
And I'll tell you, I have found that whether you could take a social group, a civic club, a town, a church, a family, 10% of the people are the leaders who are doing everything and have a positive attitude and are getting it done. 10% are cave peoples who are throwing rocks at everything and burning books and complaining. And 80% are the silent majority that are just rocking along. And if you call them and say, I need you to volunteer from 10 to 4 at the festival on Saturday, they'll show up, they'll work their shift, they'll volunteer, and then they'll go back home again. And you just have to keep pushing the silent majority to get engaged, because they're just rocking
How do you
along.
keep pushing entities like
Yeah.
the
Silent.
like the chamber, like our chamber, or our city council, or county commissioners? Working with them, it's been harder than working with the public.
Yeah.
In
that's-
my instance in Newcastle.
Right, and Macon, Georgia had a challenge 30 years ago that they had all these organizations that weren't getting the job done, and 15 leaders of major organizations and industry came together and formed a group called Newtown Macon, and they each put in $10,000 to fund it, and they were like, we're gonna make stuff happen. And each one of them sat on those boards that weren't getting anything done, And they were just like, we're just cutting through it, and we're tired of all this. And so you have to find the group of leaders that have that positive vision that, and just call them the Get Her Done Club, you know? And it's like, okay, here's the obstacle we got to get around, and get together and support each other. When I managed a resort, oh my word, a bunch of retirees from Ohio that complained every day, and I had a small group of them, and I said, look, I've got all these whiner complainers ruining my day every day. I need y'all to have my back and be my cheerleaders and prop me up, because if I'm going in taking a beating every day, I mean, I need y'all to keep my energy up and support me.
I've run into obstacles even with the state DOT, everything, you know, so it's
You just call Sawyer and he'll fix it. He just,
Really?
Yeah. He's the grease that gets things done.
Yeah. But he can help you find somebody that can, yeah. So, you've gotta have a group, but those people are always gonna be there throwing rocks at you. You gotta keep removing. Now, for perspective, here's all the counties in Wyoming in our map. There you are over there on the edge. And here's the rank by lodging tax revenue. And you can see you're number 20 in the state. Now, look at these numbers. How you get all the way down to Cokeville, down just north of Evanston at $5,000. And you look at the numbers, and suddenly you hit 200,000, and it takes off and runs, and it goes from 235, 270, 364, 452, 547, and it's up. What happens when you get close to $200,000 is you have enough money to pay for full-time staffing, and that's when you, as long as you're all volunteers, then it means you're real productive during your board meeting. And then you hand some things off to the agency and they're working, but the rest of you all have your other stuff to do, and so things start slowing down. So what we've got to do is figure out how to get you to the point that you have staffing, and when you have staffing to work with the agency's more productive and more focused because they don't have a volunteer group confusing them. And
a couple more motels.
Yeah, you're just much more focused that way. Or we fill up the hotels. I mean, you've got plenty of hotels right now, but we were the only car in the parking lot last night at your beautiful economic development hotel. And granted, Sunday night's always the loneliest night of the week in all hotels, but we got to get the occupancy up because you've got some great hotels in Newcastle and good ones here. So you've got good hotels. We just got to sell more heads and beds. Heads and beds means more people eating in the restaurant, spending money on other things. So heads and beds is definitely a strategy. Okay?
Absolutely.
Because again, we sell a bunch of, and we can run the numbers for you, but on how you get there and how many beds you got to sell to get up to 200, and then you're off and running.
And you were at 115 the previous fiscal year, I think. So you've had some nice growth.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're gonna get you there, okay? So lodging tax is the fertilizer to sell heads and beds. And you sell a head and bed and you get more money back in your budget that helps you grow more, and you're putting more people in restaurants and everything. So don't eat your fertilizer. And that's an example of everything you spend that money on needs to go right back to putting more heads and beds. More visitors, you know. If you're giving money to chambers, they need to be sure that the money is spent in ways that it is extending the stay and giving people more to do and driving more spending, that it's all got to be fertilizer going out. This money was designed to be seed money to make other things happen. You got something?
No.
Okay, good, all right.
I have no wisdom.
Yeah, okay. You got lots of wisdom. Now, so this line, this destination has Charlotte Motor Speedway, the right side of Charlotte. And their tourism board forever would come in when they did have a staff person and spend all their time kind of looking under the hood of it. If the staff is the race car, kind of saying, well, did you get everything done? Did you place the ads? Did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do that? So a board's real job is to focus on where we going. And once you have an agency doing your advertising and you've got a staff person to support them and work with them and they're focused on putting more heads in beds, then the board has to shift its focus to the potholes in the road that are holding you back as a destination. Get it? Because that was the analogy made here by the board chair who said, we're always trying to make the car go faster, as in the ad agency and the staff. And he said, we've got a great agency, we've got a great staff. The problem is, no car can hit top speed if the road's full of potholes. We gotta fix the potholes. And in their case, they had a huge traffic jam. They had the busiest highway exit in North Carolina, and they're constantly saying, come stay in our hotels, when you literally couldn't get through the traffic to get there because it was just a bad designed exit and it was just a constant snarl up. And so the board said, staff and agency, y'all keep promoting, we're gonna fix the exit. We're gonna fix something that's a major roadblock to what we're doing. And so that's where we're gonna get to the point where we're filling up these hotels. And then what's the next hotel? Where are we going next? What's the, I mean, you've got a Red Onion Museum named for a bar that was the Red Onion. Can you get a Red Onion bar? I mean, can you recreate the Red Onion? That's new product development, new experience development. We went over yesterday to Cambria. I had seen that on the History Channel and on Modern Ghost Towns of the West. And I was just like, wow. And Amy and I have been talking about Cambria for years. And we went over there and that lodge is just amazing. I mean, how cool is that? And unfortunately, it's not really running as a steakhouse anymore. And it's kind of a hunter's lodge now. And I mean,
that's because the owners are in Vegas for half the year and then here for half the year. So they've put less into it. That used to be booming during rally time. They call it the Bag Lady Bash, and it was great. And it would bring in a lot of people.
I see, and imagine with all the trails that are out there. I mean,
oh my gosh.
Because hunters don't need to be in an architecturally significant building, right? I mean, you can have a hunter's bunkhouse in anything, right? So we need to politely have somewhere else for the hunters to stay, and we need to turn that into a major hiking destination with great food and people on the trails. And why on the trails? Because it keeps them here for a couple of days instead of one night where they just go on. We want to get a 2-night stay, a 3-night stay, where that's like a hiking. I guess you can mountain bike those trails, right? That's not just hiking. And is there anything to paddle in the area?
Not really. But like in the winter, those trails would be perfect for snowmobiling.
And I was up in Marquette, Michigan. They have 5 trail systems in the dead of winter, and one of them's fat tire biking. And the snowmobile people don't like fat tire bikes, and the horses don't like. They all want their own trails, And so they had different trail systems for each, and fat tire biking in the winter's a big sport.
I think we got plenty of trails to dole it out.
And that is the dream lodge to do it in.
Yeah,
we just got to figure out what to do with the owners that own it that aren't that motivated.
How to motivate.
We had a board member on the UADB at one time bring up this app that ranchers could sign up for and say, hey, you can come on my property with your ATV from this time to this time, and then they could shut it off. And we never found what app that was, but that was something I've just always kept in my head. That was like right when I had started, when I came back to Upton. But I thought that would be so cool for Upton, and the fact that the ranchers would be in control of that trailhead and be able to say like, no, you're not coming through this.
Okay.
Yeah, you go out to the Indian Cara area there's some wonderful trails out in the forests and the hills up there.
Is
So
that
that's the basics of our plan become, we got to get your house in order.
Just east of here.
So we can get your money up so that y'all got staffing that are doing with the day-to-day, and then the board's going to shift its focus to long-term growth for the destination. First, we got to get our operations working. You with me? Okay. So this is the way it'll work, is the board is up here having a vision and plan for where we're going long term, and then you got a staff working with an agency doing the day-to-day marketing. And the board should not micromanage the agency and the staff. They're the experts. They're focused on reporting back to you on how they're putting more heads in beds and bringing more visitors. And then y'all are like, good report, the money's looking good, we're going up, and then you're back saying, what's next, what's next, what's next, okay? All right, your board meetings, keep them efficient. This is all rules you can read later, but Buffalo, New York is a huge city, a lot to cover, and their board only meets 4 times a year. And their board actually serves, they're a dual board, and so they meet at 9 a.m. every quarter, and for 1 hour they do the tourism board, and then they adjourn, and that director moves aside, and then the convention center manager comes to the hot seat, and the convention center manager, and then they do the convention center for an hour, and they're done. And so constant meetings doesn't make for a well-informed board. Your board's got to agree to read all their emails and respond when they receive something, and you can communicate and everything, but if your bylaws say you have to meet every month, then rewrite the bylaws to say we're all busy, we're everything, and we can do it by Zoom 2 months and then have a quarterly in-person meeting. Do what is time efficient and effective for the board. Don't let the rules get in the way and burn you out on constant meetings, and you know, that's frustrating for a board, just to sit and listen to reports and not have real purpose.
Do you have board bylaws or joint powers?
Yes.
Does it mandate, like?
I think it's quarterly. I don't think it's monthly.
Yeah, I would just say, you know.
Yeah, well, there's times where, like August, our busiest tourism, we don't meet in August.
Sure.
Good.
Just,
And there's times where not everybody can make it. Okay, we can skip this month. You know, as long as all the bills are paid, people are getting their money, we can skip this month.
There you go.
And we try to vote on everything and put it all into place, you know. And so when these people start coming in with the co-op advertising, things like this, it gets paid automatically.
Yeah.
Because they're already pre-approved.
Yeah.
Once when your agency and your staff person present you with an annual plan that says, here's our plan for the year and what we're gonna do, and you don't have to vote on those things at every meeting because it's in the annual plan and they've got their instructions. It's really more about them reporting to you on how it went.
So some meetings are 2 hours long. We've had longer. Some meetings are an hour. Boom.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
everything's taken
And it's
care of.
because without a staff, y'all are having to figure it out yourselves. You're having to do it yourselves.
And I feel bad for our agency that, you know, our communication is lacking at times because we are volunteer boards.
Yeah.
Staff would definitely be.
Down in Evanston, they have an all-volunteer board, and the average age is honestly 70-something. It's a bunch of retirees. And I had told them, it was a meeting like this, where I said, you need to hire staff, you need to get a website, you need to do these things. Well, they got the cart before the horse, and they decided to design a website as volunteers, and they hired SimpleView, which SimpleView is like the General Motors of tourism websites. They are a huge international company. And the board chair called me to check in, and he said, we've even got us a website going along. And I said, who's doing your website for you? And he said, SimpleView. I was like, oh my word, how's that going? He said, it's been really hard. They want us to give them GIF somethings or others, or JPE, I don't know. And he said, we don't speak their language. And I was like, wow, that's why you have staff contact for the agency, because the agency's moving at light speed, and for them to work for you effectively, you need one person to communicate with them and keep it focused, okay?
The new store. This is the one-stop shop. We have a pharmacy. We have a bootlegger's liquor. The deli, the food that you can get at a lunchtime is so amazing. The coffee shop. Certain Friday mornings, there's 30 people sitting here in all these chairs. This is the hub for people to come and visit, have their coffee, have their donuts. It's amazing what this area has done. Totally amazing.
Now, and this is true for all organizations, not just tourism boards, this is chambers, everybody. Your boards hate annual retreats. And you need to have a retreat. It's like, that's the worst phone call, or it's time for the annual retreat. And I mean, I get phone calls all the time, well, you do our 2-day annual retreat. And I'm like, no, because none of your board members want a 2-day annual retreat. It's like, we're getting our 5-year retreat done in 3 hours right now, okay? And you're not gonna have to do this again for 5 years or until you've run through everything in the plan and you need something else to do, okay? And so each year you should just have an annual update that says, are we on our long-range strategic path? And you do it at a regular meeting, say, let's get out that strategic plan. Are we on path? Are we getting it done? Then good, no need for a retreat. The only time you go to retreat is if the world's upside down, if everything's completely changed, or if you've completed everything in the plan, okay? All right, stop retreating. When do you retreat in battle? When you're losing. So why would you, when you think about an annual retreat, it's like saying everything's going great, but we're just gonna stop and retreat. And it's like, that makes no sense on the field of battle. If you're moving, you're moving.
We can't afford an annual retreat.
Well, there you go. Okay, Darren's gonna walk you through, because, and this is, I keep telling you that you need to not work so hard, but when it comes to lodging tax, you are funded by a public tax dollar, so that does put certain burdens on you as a board, that you gotta follow the rules. I'm gonna go get a little something to eat.
Well, thanks, Berkeley. We're going to cover this real fast. And again, you will have the PDF of this, so you'll be able to look at this in more detail. Basically, here's the Wyoming statute of what the lodging tax can be used for. You've got a 2% local Weston County tax, correct? You passed it this past November. So it won't be up until 2028. Okay. Here's what the lodging tax that you have can be used for. Basically, it's for travel and tourism promotion, promotional materials, advertising, digital content, social media, promotion of tours, staging of events, educational materials, and the great catch-all, other specific tourism-related objectives. Woo, that's a big one. But anyway, in a nutshell, that's what the statute says. So it's basically a promotion and PR fund. You can't do construction improvements, you can't do physical improvements, but it's basically right there. A few years ago, the legislature did broaden it a bit to include staging of events and educational materials. So if you want to hold a festival, that was kind of in the gray area previously, now you can have a little bit more leeway to do so.
And we have educational materials. That's very broad.
Yes, Tucson County wanted that added.
You cannot buy history textbooks for the schools.
Right, okay, thank you. It's for tourism education materials. So,
okay.
The way many lodging tax boards interpret this, and the way county attorneys have interpreted this makes things like wayfinding signs, digital signs, helping people understand where to spend money. That's how we're including it here.
Okay.
But it is not history books as a local high school.
Jackson uses it a lot for their sustainability initiative, like how to behave in Jackson, like how far to stay away from an elk and a bear, and so it's market education in the
If you're educating locals and visitors how to interact with your trail system, with your
wildlife, like don't
Yes.
set the fluffy cows.
Yes.
Yeah.
You could spend your whole budget buying ads in high school yearbooks and sports programs and beta club, whatever, and you'll be great supporters to education, and you won't bring a single additional visitor.
So again, if you keep this in mind, it helps you say no to some of these people. There is a clear prohibition again, like I said. You can't construct tourism facilities, and there are examples in an attorney general ruling, like parks, museums, restrooms, visitor centers, or transportation systems. Visitor centers, what does that mean? You can't construct them, but you can lease them. So you can lease a building, you can work with a chamber, you can work with a partner to have a visitor center. You shouldn't just build one. Transportation systems, this is like buses.
I got a question on this one. In instance, we have in the works, and we're hoping to increase, move up and into a newer program, which might help us do this. But there's a new Veterans Memorial going in, and they were asking for a donation. And at the time, it's like, we can't. And we actually contacted state to see. And he's, no, you can't. You're in the wrong program. You need to move up. Okay. Now, once we move up into this new program, we are allowed to move in.
Yeah. Here's the situation. This is for use of the lodging tax. You cannot use lodging tax dollars for visitor centers, transportation systems, etc. Now, what this program is allowing you to do, getting this plan allows you to apply for destination development funds from the Wyoming Office of Tourism. That is a different pool of money.
Right.
Okay.
With the destination development funds, you can invest in infrastructure.
We still have to approve, like when you put your request in, and you say this is how we're gonna utilize the funds, like we still go back and say, does this match the strategic
Okay.
plan? Is this gonna help elevate them as a destination? How is this? So there's still, it's broader in scope of what it can be used for, but ultimately it still is this going to bring people into the destination?
Okay.
And is
So
this
again,
gonna-
does this make sense that this is about how your local lodging tax can be used? It doesn't mean what the board can do, because the board now has this other pot that you can do some other things.
Okay, but we have to coordinate with the state to work
Yes.
on that other
Yes.
process.
You
That's right.
you just fill out the application, you send it, and then Jim Wallenberg will say either yes or no.
And
I
like
just
Amy-
wanted to know how the process
Yeah.
went and how, if we can tap into this.
like Amy said,
project.
what this entire process with Wyoming Best is doing, you're getting a strategic plan that says this is how we're going to do things at the Weston County Travel Commission. And then you apply for destination development funds for specific projects that support this plan. And they say yes, and then you invest those dollars in support of this plan. That protection loop is just to make sure the board doesn't say, we're gonna make, Kaz is gonna make a statue of herself.
Yeah.
It's not part of the plan. You have to have a.
Is there an endless pot of money with destination development funds?
Yes, sir. No, there's
Fund
not.
everything?
Every 2 years, the legislature reapplies I think it was $5 million?
$5 million.
$5 million for a 2-year pot of destination development funds to be shared throughout the state, and they share them based on budget size.
I thought it was
So
a good
yours is
idea.
a very small pot of money.
Very small.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good idea because it was right on our scenic byway and help promote the scenic byway. But at the time, we're moving into where we can do it, so.
But
I
again,
could-
this is a good question, because if you could stimulate or stir the pot and find another source of funds other than lodging tax, the board could still say yes.
Well, that's all we deal with is lodging tax.
Yeah,
We don't
yeah,
deal with anything.
yeah. For instance, in Laramie County at Visit Cheyenne, our organization helped raise funds from the community to make a splash pad, a water feature in the town. We didn't use lodging tax dollars for it. We raised other funds to partner with the city to do it. So it wasn't using lodging tax, but the board was still doing it. So again, that's the distinction for you. You can do it, but you just can't use lodging tax for it.
And the other thing they're gonna look at with the destination development funds is this the most pressing need? Is money versus, I'll tell you, the first round of destination development funding, everybody from Sweetwater County to Converse County did wayfinding. They updated signs to get around their counties because nobody really had the signage. And so that was a big thing. Some of our smaller destinations did not do a simple view website, but we had to work with an agency to build a website.
Right.
So it really is kind of, what are your biggest needs to help elevate
Signage
the
is very important,
destination?
but yet,
Right.
you know, we got dinged again this past second year in a row from the Wyoming DOT. Nope, no signage.
Well, here's one, DOTs are always political, and you need to know somebody on the state DOT board. And that's how some counties you have fabulous signage. I can always say, oh, this county's got somebody on the DOT board. And I mean, it's very political, but always keep in mind that there is a hierarchy of giving, and it's very emotional. And if you're raising money for anything veterans or children's health care, they're at the top of the list. I mean, dying kids and veterans emotionally are very high, but neither of those are in the mission of this organization.
Right.
Okay? And so when you say we can't fund a veterans memorial, it's not because you don't love veterans and their service to the country. It's just your mission is to put more heads and beds in the hotel that economic development built. I mean, you know, we've got to make that a success. The investment in the hotel in Newcastle and your other hotels, we've got to get, if they're humming, then the restaurants are humming, and we're raising the level for tourism. So we can't fund education, we can't, but there's other organizations to do that. And when it comes to signage, that's where you look at scenic byways, you look at DOT, you look at grant writing, and there are tourism boards that just fund directional signage out of theirs, and signage could come out of product development funds.
And I know the struggle with YDOT with you guys is because you're on a major highway. And so there's highway right-of-ways, but we've worked with other communities that have done it. And so this is where we can put you guys into contact with other
Yes.
communities, and how did they get the funding to do signage on so right-of-ways.
Great,
Yeah.
Now, going along with signage, I know of 2 different people who had private billboards. Nope, DOT wouldn't give them a permit anymore.
Right.
They said they quit giving out permits for private billboards. And we have one beautiful one that was, as you turn to go to old, downtown Newcastle, and it's an old gas station, and it's just a couple of posts and everything. That used to have signs on it for what's downtown. They told them to take it down, so they had to take it all down because it was not permitted properly, but yet they won't permit it.
Yeah, so,
See, that hurts.
and wayfinding signs aren't billboards. They're gonna be your little,
Is that an educational?
it can be, yeah. So like how the green sign when you're coming into Trail Town, where there's the green sign that just says Trail Town with an arrow, that's a wayfinding sign. And so it's a different thing than a big billboard a wayfinding sign would be. It's saying that historic Newcastle is this way, or the scenic.
There might be
so
one
you're-
sign that says hospital to the left, hotel to the right, museum straight ahead.
Yeah.
So a hotel sign is a wayfinding sign. It doesn't technically need a permit. Or it does.
No, I'm just talking as far as permitting. I just want him to understand when we're talking wayfinding.
There's a difference between DOT signs and
I was
billboards.
gonna say, 'cause the hotel
There's
struck
a
big
big
signs too,
difference.
so I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
there's
Right.
a loophole.
Well, and here's the way to work it as a board. Until you have staffing and somebody to really figure out the rules, y'all need to divide up on the board. You need one person who's your signage expert that understands the rules, or at least knows who to call, And so that you don't all try to figure that out. One person's your finance person who understands the money and the rules of the money and how to do the money. One's got signs covered. If you each have your task, and you have one, whoever's your marketing expert, to work with the agency, and then that person can say, here's what the agency needs from us, and here's what I recommend. And the board says, well, if you and the agency agree, then we support you. Same with signage and.
Like Upton would be a great example of a major highway goes right through their town, and they were able to get wayfinding signs up.
Yeah.
Did they use destination development?
Probably.
Yeah, DOT is not there to tell you how to get something done. They're there to tell you what the rules are and what you can't do.
Yeah.
And so
It's
between
tough.
all of us, we'll figure out how to,
Everybody that has a wayfinding sign system has fought their
Yeah.
Yeah.
DOT people.
Yeah.
It's a challenge everywhere. DOT wants to pay something, not put something.
You know how the story I told you about the Cabarrus County, North Carolina, and the highway exit and how they fixed that? They got all their top power people in the county together, and they called, one of them knew the governor and called the governor, and they all went to Raleigh, and they had lunch at the governor's mansion with the governor, invited the head of DOT to come to lunch with them. And they walked out of that one lunch meeting in the governor's mansion with the governor and the head of DOT, and that highway exit that was such a mess was the number 1 and 2 priority statewide for highway projects. And that's how you work with DOT.
You cannot fix Washington, D.C. from within Washington, D.C. You have to fix it from the outside. It has to be citizen uprising. And the only way you can do it is through an Article 5 convention. There are lots of other ideas that people throw out there that aren't in the Constitution necessarily. This is a peaceful, legal, constitutional method for reining in the federal government, which, like I said earlier, is the responsibility of the states. That's one of their roles, and they've abdicated that responsibility horribly. Our founders would be appalled that we're thinking of solutions other than an Article 5 convention, because that's the process they put in for this purpose.
Back to the lodging tax, just in general, the principle should be your use of the lodging tax. Your lodging tax expenditures should try to bring people from the outside into your county and get them to spend more money within the county. It's a simple principle that helps you say no to the schools, to the veterans, to groups that aren't meeting this kind of clear statement.
If they come from Crook or Niobrara, that's positive economic development. That's their money coming into ours.
Right, it's outside, it's spending money.
Well, and we have had that conversation where there are groups that come to you guys, and I say, is that at the bottom line, does that bring in individuals from outside the area to visit the county? And if the answer is no,
right,
then it's not something you're
That's
doing.
good.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I would recommend that, if deciding what spending is appropriate, if y'all get requests, if you want to put some of this in your bylaws, you want to clearly spell it out in your bylaws to give the board extra oomph. So you can say no, you can just say, no, the board did a retreat, we spelled out what we say are our priorities, we put it in our bylaws, here it is, I'm sorry, it doesn't.
Correct.
You can.
If somebody comes to you and says, can we have money to do so-and-so, if the answer is no, you don't say no. You'd say, gosh, I wish I could help, but we are funded by a state tax, and the tax statute does not allow us to fund that. So it's not your decision. Don't make them think you're saying no.
We've had to have those conversations.
The lodging tax is built for very specific purposes, and this is why we have to use it in the way we do.
You have the fiduciary responsibility to make sure that tax is put to its highest and best use. There's a million good ideas. It's your job, because you only have $140,000, is to find the very best uses for it.
And then, here's what we were just saying. You have the power as a joint powers board to create those other operational guidelines. How you're going to operate, how you're going to say yes or no on policy issues. You have the powers to create all extra policies. It sounds like you've got them in place. You have a joint powers agreement that how it's formed. It gives you, sounds like it gives you adequate leeway to not have monthly meetings. It sounds like you've got good operational bylaws and a joint powers agreement already. Just don't let that hinder you. If it's hindering you in some way, make it work for you, adjust it, so it works for you. One other thing we would add here is the lodging tax law allows up to 10% for administration. And this is where the lodging tax boards can provide up to 10% back to their local governments. They're part of the joint powers agreement for general administration. So you're basically Weston County and the 2 communities. Is that basically your 3 joint powers? So the board could choose to provide 10% back to those 3 entities based on how much is collected in those entities. I don't think they'll do that now, do you?
The intent of that rule was, if you had a clerk who was spending a lot of time getting in 40 checks from 40 hotels and having to post those to the county's bank account and then disperse the check out, it was taking up a lot of their time. And so they just put that provision in there so that you could reimburse them for the clerk's time. It's got nothing to do with your staffing.
Right, well, I can say personally, when I was the secretary/treasurer, it did cut into a lot of my actual job,
So
doing that work.
The way
And I'm
this-
sure it does for our now secretary-treasurer, who's also the city clerk.
Okay.
The way the Attorney General has ruled it is it's up to the board whether you do it or not. There's a handful of communities or counties, lodging tax boards like you in Wyoming that do it. They give it back to the counties. Most do not. Most keep it totally to keep marketing outside to bring it in. One thing I want to raise though is many people misinterpret that 10% and they think, oh, we can't hire administration, we can't have an office, we can't do anything because of this 10% rule. That's kind of a misreading of the rule. The 10% that you can provide back to local governments for administration is going back to county governments, to city governments. It's not your own 10%.
It's not internal.
It's not
It's kind
internal.
of, think of it this way. It was designed to cover the cost of administering the money, not the marketing.
Not the marketing and the operations of this organization.
So
As a
the
rule,
county
organizations like this, if we took your total budget, okay, separate from the administration of the money, the general formula in the industry is that of your 140,000, at minimum 50% of the money should be spent in what we call outreach, whether it's print, advertising, digital, whatever you're doing to promote and send a message out, at least 50% of your money should be doing that. And then usually 10 to 15% covers office overhead, having an office or a visitor center, that kind of thing. And then usually and we'll put this in the recommendations. And then staffing, when you're at $140,000, it could be as much as a third up to 40% of your budget is for staffing. So if you were putting 30 to 40% into a staff person and 50% with the agency to advertise, and then you had about 10 or 15 left for administrative stuff, then you're making, the agency's more efficient if they just have one person to work with, and to handle, because I guarantee you they're doing a lot of staffing related stuff now because it's just gotta be done, And
We've had an instance in the past, it was several years ago, that the chamber, Newcastle Chamber, wanted us to pay for one of their employees.
Sure.
And that included insurance and everything else. We said no.
Yeah.
And that got to be a little bickering match for a little while before they
And
finally
I'm
accepted.
very sympathetic with chambers nationwide. It doesn't matter whether it's a chamber, whether it's a Sertoma club. If it's a membership-based organization, they're struggling because we live in a mercenary society where people aren't just loyal. In my dad's day, you just joined the chamber because you were a good person, and you cared about your town, and you joined the chamber. And now, every year, the chamber has to justify why they exist and what have you done for me lately, and it's exhausting for chambers. But unfortunately, there's nothing in your mandate with a bed tax law to promote the county to deal with membership or anything. You're here. Your constituent is the visitor. And bringing more of them.
We do have several lodging tax boards, I don't know why that was so hard for me to figure out, that have given money to chambers to act as the visitor center.
We had done that for years, and Just didn't.
But a
Well,
lot
the
of
problem
pullback
is the
too. I mean,
chamber
it's,
Yeah.
quit doing what the chamber was supposed to be doing and kind of went by the wayside, so we quit the funding. Because they weren't providing
Well, they're
us
there to
that kind of
promote their
service.
members, and that's how they
That's
sell
the-
membership, is
that's
we're
the
only gonna
problem. That's the
promote
problem.
you.
Yeah, but see, they weren't providing us that service that we were giving the money for. So that was, I'm
But, you
telling you,
know,
that's-
Rotary clubs, Sertoma clubs, they're all struggling. Private clubs, golf clubs, country clubs, they're all struggling. I mean, membership's tough these days because people just aren't loyal customers.
we've even, in the past, I've been on the board, I don't know, I've had my bar for 19 years, and I've probably been on the board close to 15. We've even paid for somebody to go on courses to learn how to set up websites, and then, it's part of the chamber,
Right.
And so they set it up, and it worked for about 3 to 6 months, and they're gone.
Yeah.
But yet then we paid for all their training to do that, so all that went by the wayside. And again, lost money. And so it's hard. We want to help, but we ended up just doing our own website, getting TD&G, and just doing it ourselves. Not relying on somebody and help train and have them there because
This
we don't
board
know if
has
they're
a
going to be there.
very specific mandate, it's to take tax from visitors and promote to visitors.
And if the chamber has a service that they can provide that meets that mission,
Right.
like having a visitor
An
center,
event or.
or something like that, like a visitor center, that's the common example. But just make sure you have a tight agreement, so it's understood what the service that's being provided is. So something like, we're not training your employees. It's to have that visitor center open 4 days a week, boom, 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 at certain hours.
Platte
Very
County has
specific.
this issue constantly because they had the chamber person representing tourism, and then she pulled out and represented just tourism, and it's just been constant battles between the chamber and tourism.
and now they're the same person.
Yeah, now they're back to, they've come full circle again, and
See,
Like it's a little sticky.
over the years, we've gone through all that.
you just have completely different mandate here.
Yeah.
You are a tax-funded entity that's got a very specific tax.
And
And
chambers support their members.
I tell people, we're money people. You make the event and you come to us for money and tell us how you're gonna spend your advertising money,
Yeah.
and we'll see
To
what we.
bring people.
Yeah, and we'll tell you what we can fund and what we can't fund.
Yep.
And it seems to be better, but yet every now and then we get attacked.
Well,
We get attacked.
like anything, I think education is important too.
Yeah.
Well, because
What needs to know.
if you're a chamber and you were just working yourself to death to keep the lights on and sell the memberships and have a golf tournament and all these things to keep going, and then meanwhile there's this board that just gets a check from a tax every month, then yeah, I'm gonna attack you and be frustrated by you, but it's just different organizations, different missions, and it is what it is. You have to follow the tax code and stay within your mission, and you can't color outside the lines or you're a violation of a state statute.
I like that though, because to me, it protects us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is our mission, this is what we can do, we can't do anymore.
And I mean, and again, Darren and I are on retainer with the Wyoming Office of Tourism. So you can call Darren at any time and say, I need a ruling on this. He's kind of he's the authority, because Diane Schober and the Wyoming Office of Tourism don't want to be in the position of dictating policy to lodging tax boards, okay? Because they're state agency. So they pay us on contract to help you interpret those policies. And we're in constant communication with Diane and her team. But, if you need somebody to draw the line in the sand, Darren, that's what he's
And
paid
it's much
to do.
easier for me to do it because I'm not part of your family.
Right.
When you're part of the family, you know, well, go and see it.
Yeah.
It's easier to see where the lines are. And I was at Visit Cheyenne for 23 years, and we fought many of the exact same issues of groups coming for money, the mayor coming for money,
Well, it's good. It's I feel better with seeing this support coming from the state, because we haven't had a whole lot of guidelines and support from the state for.
We're from the state, we're here to help.
Well, first 5 years of having, tourism board, so.
Yeah.
The other thing, you brought up marketing, like groups that come to you for marketing. You can say, you know what, we're gonna give you the $500, basically, but you're the marketing expert. So you don't even necessarily have to write them the check for $500. You work with your ad, get it up on your website on the events, and you show them, hey, here's how we are gonna market this for you, because we already have the reach. It's much like advertising on the That's Why, on the Travel Wyoming webpages, we already have the reach. And so we can just plug it into this, and so that's how we're gonna, instead of giving you this $500 to go put posters around town, we're gonna do that equivalent and do it through our channels to where we know that it's, so there's ways that organizations are
Tackling the issues.
tackling, and using products you already have in order to do.
One thing that is a very worthy expenditure is to pay for 1 or 2 of your board members each year to go to the state tourism conference.
Which you have to, if you're getting, there's 2 state tourism, Fall Summit and GovCon.
The fall one is tomorrow.
In 2 days, yeah. But that's a caveat of destination development. You have to have somebody attend either Fall Summit or a governor's conference. So, sorry, I didn't mean to jump on that, Berkeley, but it's also for your benefit. We're not just saying that because we're like, oh, we want a big turnout at these events.
It's for your benefit.
It's for your benefit.
All right, got a question right here.
I'm kind of jumping topics, but one of the big problems with Upton and Newcastle is that we don't work together.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, should that even be a focus of ours? Like, I mean, Newcastle has its shining stars and we have our shining stars, you know? But getting it to come together is really hard. Is that something you guys are experiencing in other counties? And
Sure.
what advice?
Well, and you have a joint powers agreement, which basically says that Upton and Newcastle and the county have come together to form this organization. So you're kind of obligated to work together.
So what does that look like, though? Does that mean that we try to do events in Osage, for a middle ground, or what are other counties doing?
I like what's going on with the Weston County Museum District. You have the Red Onion here, you have the Anna Miller there, and they're each run by different people, but it's really one entity that runs them. And there are a lot of events that'll bring people that are in Newcastle out to Upton. And I have seen people in Upton go out to the Anna Miller and see something there. Or one of the oral histories that is going on at the library or at the senior center, which the museum district promotes, and they organize that.
We've helped them with signage, and I think that's about it, isn't it?
But it is an example of how the 2 communities can get along. And I mean, personally speaking, I think if Upton and Newcastle could get along, it benefits both of us. It'll even benefit Osage, as much as that's an impossibility to think of, it will. And because they're right in the middle, like a forgotten little town.
Yeah.
And it really shouldn't be.
Fremont County is a perfect example of a county in Wyoming that has got Du Bois all the way to Riverton.
And it's like
that's a long
hour and some drive.
Yeah.
And they're also very, very different. Du Bois and Riverton and Leonard, they're all, plus you have the Wind River Indian Reservation within that. And so your job is not to just do one or the other. It's Weston County, here's what Newcastle has to offer, here's what Upton has to offer. You're promoting the whole thing.
It's not always just like getting them to work together.
Well, and it's understanding that there's a difference between equality and equity, and everybody doesn't automatically get an equal piece of the pie, but they get an appropriate piece of the pie, and so, I mean, this goes on in Crook County all the time, and it's the battle between Sundance and Devil's Tower and everything. But the fact is, what's bringing people into Crook County is Devil's Tower, So, of course, you got to lead and put that out there, right? You know? Oh, imagine over in Gillette that, you know, I mean, all they can brag about is the world's biggest coal mine, and yeah, they've got 2,000 plus hotel rooms and everything, but they promote Devil's Tower because they've got the rooms and the restaurants, and so they're saying they're the gateway to Devil's Tower. So sometimes you're busy fighting amongst yourselves when the thing that'll put the heads in beds might be Cambria, you know, and all the trails over there. So who cares what it is as long as it's ringing your cash registers? You're an economic development board.
We're the same.
You're here to bring money in, and as long as it's put money in the cash registers, that's your goal. And whatever the agency can figure out that'll bring the people here and ring the cash registers is what needs to drive it.
And I mean, it really makes sense, like what you were talking about, the trails. We got Mala, we've got Cambria, and then here in Upton, you've got Indian Cara, and they're wonderful trails all the way around.
Yeah.
And you have some great maps that we've seen all over town.
Well, we also got the flyers for each and every trail.
Y'all
Have you
have
seen
done
those?
a great job.
And
Yeah.
those are neat. Those are really cool.
Yeah.
And we've been promoting outdoors ever since I've been on the board.
Yeah.
Outdoor sports, fishing, hunting, hiking, you know, not much snowmobiling, but I do have some snowmobile maps.
Yeah.
You know, things like this.
love to
That's
see
been
that.
our major theme over the
Years ago, I worked with Montgomery, Alabama, and they had only one convention hotel, and it was the Embassy Suites, and they're downtown. And the Embassy Suites wouldn't even take a phone call from anybody because they were sold out all the time. They had all the business. They were big number one, and they didn't care to partner with anybody or anything because they were the king of the hill. They owned the market. And then they built a 300-room Marriott Renaissance across the street from that Embassy Suites, and the Embassy Suites went from being big number one to a 15-year-old tired old hotel that needed renovations. And suddenly I go down there for a meeting, and the general manager, the director of sales, and the regional manager for the Embassy Suites all came walking into the meeting. And I was like, what are y'all doing here? I've never seen y'all at anything. And they said, we're here to help you sell that Renaissance and fill it up, because as soon as it is, then we're willing to take whatever's left over. And so it's understanding that's just, you know, and towns, it goes back to high school. Towns compete because of high school sports, and their mayors competed against one another, and they're competitive with each other. When Greenville and Spartanburg, I grew up in Spartanburg, and we've always been jealous of Greenville because they've got everything. Well, we were competing for a BMW plant, and there were all these different states competing to get that first ever BMW car plant in the United States. And Greenville and Spartanburg were fighting like cats and dogs to be the winner. And BMW said, we're not coming to either one of y'all. Y'all need to figure out how to work it out, and we'll talk to you. And what they came up with was they would put it in Spartanburg County, and Spartanburg County would get all the tax revenue, but they'd put it right at the edge of the county close to downtown Greenville, and Greenville would get a lot of the jobs. And that became the compromise, and once they started working together, they won the plant, and they've had it for 20 years, and it's now one of the biggest automotive plants in America in the Deep South. I mean, who thought of it? But it was only because the two towns worked together. And so it's finding where there's something in it for everybody if you come together as a team.
We're all part of Weston County.
Yes. Yeah, and you're all in one family, so you're all related. So, you know, it's
I
like,
do have one question. That 10% administration, so that could go back to like the county treasurer. She's the one who cuts the checks.
up
and
to, it's not
Up
the
to
number,
two.
right.
And it's at your discretion.
Sure, but
What you would do is you send 10%, back to the Upton, Newcastle, and the county.
Divide it up evenly, or
county
divide it
treasurer
up
cuts
hourly.
it, not
You
the-
would do it by, you should do it by the percentage that
They
is
collect.
raised by the lodging tax within
in
the
that-
individual
that
jurisdictions.
municipality. Okay.
Okay.
So the county might not have, might have much, but it'd be
But at the
from
end of the
campground.
day, it would be 10% of your total collections, so you'd be giving away
$14,000 back.
Okay.
Now, you could use that in partnership with your cities and say,
Exactly, yeah.
hey, we're gonna send this back to you, but we really like this type of
This-
infrastructure,
Right.
this type of thing, whatever.
See, in the past, we had an administration percentage, which was only like 1 or 2%.
Yeah.
It'd cover making copies,
Yeah.
stamps, things like
Getting a
this.
new computer when we needed it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we got a new copy machine that was donated.
Oh,
So,
that's-
so I don't know where it's gonna go. I'll let you decide.
They always need an office to put it in. And
That's just
boy,
it.
you're running.
Exactly.
But just don't let that 10% rule stop you from having an office for your new copier if it ends up at
Close to
12%.
that, right.
That 10% is meant for government administration if you
However
choose to do so.
Okay.
Now tell me, just for the purpose of our conversation, what's the role of the agency? Are y'all paid just to produce ads? Tell us what your role is with the organization.
Yeah, so promotion that again is done out of market to drive visitors in market. So the bulk of our effort is kind of through 3 different channels. One, the website, building and maintaining the website, social media work through content development and promotion of both of the towns, and then a bulk of our efforts is with media placement through a digital channels.
Okay. Are you creative side, account side?
I'm
Everything.
on the side, yeah.
Okay. Do y'all handle other tourism clients? So do y'all ever provide administrative services or support to your clients, or?
I would say almost every client requires some sort of administrative services.
Right.
To some degree, yes.
All right, okay.
And that's generally, I mean, from our perspective, that's worked within the cost of doing business with us, right? It's
Right.
We rarely have a separate line item for administrative.
Because here's the
And
thing,
they
your
look
agency
wonderful.
has a vested interest in your
Right,
growing.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Because if the goal is for you to always spend 50% or more of your money on marketing, and if we can double your budget size, well, then they just double their work, right? And so that's what we're trying to do, is
And to have that administration rolled into it as well.
to keep
Right.
the agency in full partnership with you,
Mhm.
and that's the way the board should be thinking of them,
Yeah.
is they are your full partner in succeeding. And it's also, at some point, having a meeting where Sawyer hosts y'all at Wyoming Office of Tourism, you and the agency, so that y'all can see firsthand, like their brand studio, and to see how to leverage your advertising with what they're doing and everything. And how many of y'all have lodging tax boards that come in to meet in the office and see what y'all do? And,
We don't.
I
do
mean,
it-
y'all always go to them.
We always go to them, but like as far as brand studios and that kind of stuff, we do webinars every time we put out co-ops. So we do every season. We do a webinar with, these are the co-ops we have, this is our marketing campaign.
And you do it for all lodging tax boards at one time?
All at
or-
one time.
Okay.
And just because when it comes to the co-ops, we've got 3 to 4 agencies that at any time could be offering co-ops. And so it's easier for us to do the one webinar where Miles, Madden, BBK, Snow Day can all be on that call, and they present what the co-ops are at that time. And just because a lot of that creative and a lot of that stuff takes place outside of the office, we do it.
You can also do that like the governor's conference.
Yeah, and we present all
if,
that.
If you both come to the governor's conference.
And I was just gonna say, we do have a lot of, well, not a lot, but we have agencies of record from other lodging tax boards that do primarily come down to our governor's conference.
Yeah.
And then you get a good feel even of what's happening in the state. And then as of now, right, you can go on the portal and actually buy your co-ops.
It's gonna be this week.
Yeah, it's gonna go live where you just log into your, log into the Weston County partner portal, and it'll have all of our co-ops and the different prices, and you can put it together and just click.
And so here's the way, so the state has these big national firms that have different co-op programs that they offer to you as partners, but in no way is that designed to compete with or take away from your agency, because those big national firms will never give you the constant attention that you guys need, especially in terms of staffing. Right?
Well, that's always been the caveat that I've had with co-op programs, because we talked about equity and equality. I've been leery of some from the perspective of big agencies, big organizations like to collect all this money, and then how that's distributed. Well, is that an equitable representation of the money that gets put in? Like, it's not Weston County's job to promote Yellowstone or...
Right, so when you buy into a co-op, you buy in just for Weston County.
Okay.
So you're buying a advertisement in our
Right,
consumer-facing newsletter, and it's just Weston County.
It just says Weston.
It's West, yeah, so anything you pay for a co-op is just
okay,
Weston
right.
County.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not,
You're paying for a seat at the table.
Yeah, because that's not always the case. I mean, there are some co-op programs that
so
are...
you're just basically getting, we buy them down to make them more cost-effective,
Right.
and then you, outside of being able, you get to leverage the Travel Wyoming website or our mailing list, whatever, for your brand. But yeah, we don't have you buy it to promote Yellowstone.
Yeah, for example, one of their big e-newsletter blasts, you know, how many people are on that newsletter list?
Thousands.
You know, they have thousands of people interested in Wyoming. You would buy, they have like 3 sponsors of each e-newsletter that goes out to thousands of people that all are interested in Wyoming. You will have your specific Weston County ad at the bottom saying sponsored by, and your
And
ad
it would
is
link out to your website.
and then comes back to you, and there's only 3 in that newsletter. It's you, it's Laramie County, and it's Sweetwater County. That's it.
Or like we'll do social media takeovers, or like Weston County would take over our social medias for 24 hours. So there's things like that, but that's a great insight. I had never really thought of it. Is are you buying into every? No, you're just
You're getting your message onto their.
you're leveraging the that's why.
Yeah, and I want to leverage the buy down, the big impact your channels that you guys have, but I don't want to do it for someone else. Like my obligation is to Weston County. My obligation is not
Exactly
to,
right.
Yeah, and that's 100% what you're doing. Yeah.
And your obligation comes with a tiny budget competitively.
Yes.
Right? So we thoroughly respect your commitment to that,
Absolutely.
because they need to understand that when it comes to the state of Wyoming, y'all are going into a big battle with a BB gun. Okay? Yeah. There's some big budgets around the state.
All right, we've covered a lot here on the lodging tax and spending and strategy.
Should we let them take a little break or
Go ahead.
just
Oh, it's not
work
over.
them?
Y'all want a quick 10-minute
No,
break and then we jump straight in?
Yeah.
All right, get ready, because now
Now
the
we're
big,
getting into you. Yeah.
Getting that-
big